I messed up tonight. I lost another fight. I still mess up, but I'll just start again. I keep falling down. I keep on hitting the ground. I always get enough to see what's next. Birds don't just fly, they fall down and get up. Nobody learns without getting it wrong. I won't give up, no I won't give in till I reach the end and then I'll start again. No I won't leave, I wanna try everything, I wanna try even though I could fail.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Zootopia Minute, the minute-by-minute podcast where we review, analyze, and criticize everyone's favorite hit film of 2016, Zootopia. And we are back with another episode for you guys. As always, my name is Simul, and I'm joined by my co-host...
Choco, who just came back from a brony and furry con, so a lot of cons. As I keep saying, we're not furries, but to apologize for the delay in our schedule, we have a guest on who is a furry. You may know him as Adum from his YouTube channel, Your Movie Sucks, and Adum Plaze, as well as the podcast Sardonicast that he does with Ralph the Movie Maker and I Hate Everything. So welcome to the show, Adum.
Hello. Are you sure it's everyone's favorite hit movie of 2016?
Yeah.
What would you say is your favorite hit movie of 2016 then?
Arrival was a hit movie, right? I like that better.
That was a good one.
I liked La La
That's a really
Land
weird
better.
way to pronounce Zootopia. Where are you from? What kind of...
How did I
Arrival was
say
good.
it? How did you think I said it?
Arrival was a good movie. I liked it.
Yeah.
That was probably one of my favorite movies of that year too.
Yeah. There's a lot of great movies. I don't know. Not all of them are hit movies.
All right, well, for this episode, we're looking at minute 64 of the film Zootopia. So for those of you following along at home, that is going to be from timestamp 1:04:00 to 1:04:59. And this minute begins right where we left off. Nick and Judy have arrived at Cliffside, this spooky building over a waterfall, after they've traced this van which kidnapped Monchus over the traffic cameras. And they're here, they're behind the boulder here. There are some wolves guarding the entrance. Nick sort of gives Judy a bunch of crazy hand signs to try and indicate what his plan is to get past them. He sneaks around, the wolf almost finds him, but Judy distracts them with a very convincing howling sound that she's able to make, which then triggers a cascading effect of all the wolf guards howling at once, looking up into the air, allowing Nick and Judy to get past them towards the building. They go around the side of the building and find their way in through a sewage tunnel. And the minute ends right as we see Nick's hands reaching up through a grate to remove it so they can get in. So some infiltration happening here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny because I saw this movie during Furry Fiesta, when Furry Fiesta was taking place in Dallas. So the movie theater I was watching was full of furries, and when Judy was doing the howling scene, everyone was doing the howling, which apparently was the experience Adam had because you were watching the movie opening day during Vancouver, wasn't that right?
Yeah, it was in March 2016. The theater filled with furries. And the howling scene started. The theater started howling. I did not. But I'm not a wolf.
What else could you ask for?
It was a unique experience. It was the preferred way to watch that movie, I guess.
Were people in fursuits?
I think some were. I don't remember. I think there might have been some. I don't know, because that would be kind of like impractical for like watching a film, wouldn't it?
Yeah. It would be, but I remember seeing furry meetups, and there have been people in theaters with fursuits on. I'm like, okay, how do you see that movie? I don't know, do you take it off? What, is it going to take up space? I don't know. So, Adam, you said before we started recording that you have not seen this movie since its release in 2016. So, seeing this 1 minute out of context since 2016, what were your impressions on this specific minute then?
Well, I don't feel as though... I don't remember the exact sequence of events that led them to be sneaking in there. They're trying to find out something, but I mean, the scene on its own, I don't think it requires that much context to get it, you know?
Yeah, it's not the most plot heavy, right? And there's not even a whole lot of dialogue. It's almost like a slapstick scene. There's a lot of like visual comedy going on in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's probably just a result of the writers of this film in a room thinking, okay, how can we utilize each of the behavioral characteristics of the animals in the film to either create a joke or create conflict? And they did that. You know, they almost get caught because the wolves smell them, and they get out of it because they start to howl. And that's kind of what I like about Zootopia. I think that's why a lot of the furry community enjoys Zootopia, is that they're not just incidentally anthropomorphic animal characters, but it's actually used in the film, whether it be for a joke or conflict.
Yeah, because wasn't this the same year the movie Sing came out as well? And that was another one that was all... I didn't see the movie. I didn't see it, but apparently it was all anthro as well, animals, and it
I heard some weird things
received.
about that movie. I didn't see it myself, though.
I didn't see it, but I heard people were like comparing it to Cats Don't Dance, which to me, like, those are big shoes to fill, because that movie's great. Do you guys remember that one?
I remember of it. I don't know if I actually saw it.
Cats Don't Dance was like a 90s traditional animated film where it was these cats in show business, and it was like the little girl, like child star that was terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I did see it.
Yeah, it was one of the things that Lauren Faust had worked on from back in the day, too.
That's the only reason I know it's because it's Lauren Faust's first animated work, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So we see the wolves in this minute. I you can see their expressions. The ears are moving up and down, especially that scene when that wolf was kind of sniffing out Nick. I'm not sure about their dress. I don't know. They just gave me a Russian vibe.
I thought the same thing. I'm like, for some reason, these wolves look Russian to me. Like, but it was the same with the polar bears from earlier in the movie. They also seemed very Russian.
What about them?
Maybe just villains have to be Russian, I guess. I don't know.
I think it's the clothing. Because, like,
you've been conditioned by American media.
Yeah. They were wearing flat caps and track suits and smoking lots of cigarettes, so...
Were they smoking?
No.
It's like, yeah, I didn't think they would have that in Zootopia.
They were squatting.
I don't
Slav
remember
squatting.
this. Yeah.
But it was a stereotypical way, American media does portray Russians. The tight style of outfit, the pose and look, which it's kind of strange because these are animals and they're giving this vibe, and you could kind of get the vibe that they're going for with just animals instead of humans. So
yeah, I don't know. I never got the Russian vibe, particularly probably because they didn't say anything Russian, but I don't know.
That would be a good reason.
Yeah.
Maybe I just don't pick up on these things.
But you're Canadian, so maybe you have a different impression of Russians since they weren't.
Yeah, maybe.
your enemies.
We're cold buddies.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I love the way this minute starts. Yeah, we do look at these wolves here. I do think they look Russian, but you're welcome to disagree. Nick and Judy are kind of hiding behind this toll booth kind of thing, or just a gate box, basically, to prevent people from getting through. And they're glancing at each other, and Nick looks at Judy and starts giving her all these hand signs as a sort of indication of what his plan is. And it starts out fairly simple. He like kind of does the two eyes pointing at you, look at me, points at self, does a walking kind of thing with his fingers. But then it just goes totally off the rail, and he does like a butterfly thing and all this weird, like super rapid motion with his hands. And you can see this look on Judy's face. Her face is slowly getting more and more like, what? What are you saying? What is happening right now? And by the time Nick goes around the corner, she's just left with this look of utter bewilderment as he goes to carry off this plan on his own, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we don't hear any of their voices. So this is a scene where it's like basically we were like, oh, Jason Bateman did a really impressive job with that, but it's like
I know
there's a little bit of dialogue coming close to the end of the scene, you know.
Yeah.
There's some howling.
Yeah, Nick is sneaking around kind of to the other side of the booth, but he gets there and it looks like one of these wolves catches his scent and starts kind of sniffing at the air, sniffing him out, and he's like pressed up against this wall looking more and more like, oh no, they're gonna catch me. And then out of nowhere, Judy pulls off like this very convincing howling sound out of nowhere. Like, I don't know where she learned to do that.
I'm more impressed by the fact that she was able to throw her voice so well, because the audio, when you listen to it, it's it sounds like it's coming from far away, but she's right there. I don't know how she's able to do that, but apparently she's an expert.
So cartoons taught me that that's a thing you can do, but I'm not convinced that's a real thing because, like, I don't know, I'd watch old Scooby-Doo and Shaggy is supposed to be good at throwing his voice. And so he'd like say something to distract the criminal in the monster suit or whatever. And I always, growing up, I thought like, I want to learn how to do that, but I'm not sure that's actually a real thing.
Yeah, they had that in like Archie comics and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it might just be one of those like
gag.
old superstitions where everybody at one point in time before the internet believed that something was possible, and then fact checking became a thing.
Don't ventriloquists do it though? I'm not sure.
But not
that's a little
to that
different.
such distance, you know?
I mean,
like it's
you can make it seem like you're not the one talking just based on how your mouth is, but in terms of actually making it sound like you're coming from somewhere else, that's not really how sound waves work. Perhaps there's a way to do it slightly convincingly. I don't know, but it just seems a little little weird, I guess.
If that was possible, you would definitely need to bounce it off like another acoustic section.
You need a room that was set up the right way acoustically.
Like the dome of the Capitol building, for example, which was designed specifically for that.
Or at some science museums, they have the sets of parabolic dishes set at opposite ends of a field or something, and you can hear whispers from the other side.
I really like the environment in this scene. I like the mountains, the clouds, the waterfall. I think it's very atmospheric, even though it's only there for a short period of time, I guess. I like that you can see little details that they added in the animation, like the wind in their fur. Like there isn't an obnoxious sound effect or anything to let you know it's windy. It's just like little patches of their fur or on their tail. You can see that the fur is moving. You can tell that there's wind. You can tell that Nick and Judy are slightly damp from the rain just based on how they animated their fur too.
Right.
Which, was one thing I actually liked, that in a kid's Disney movie, they actually paid attention to those little details. And when I think it was Solo, when they were like on that train and Chewbacca his fur was not really moving. I was just like, huh.
Oh, yeah.
They could animate, they could have made it move a bit. They could put a fan in front of him, but on a big budget Star Wars movie, that they didn't do that. But then Zootopia, they're like, oh, we need to make sure it's there.
Yeah, if there's one thing that like high budget main event kind of Disney movies do well, it's the animation for sure.
Yeah.
Well, about the scenery, Simul and I were actually talking about it in the previous episode because Simul says it reminds him of, I think, a hospital in Seattle. There was a hospital on the mountain.
And you saw it because you were here recently, Choco.
Yeah, and I was in Seattle 2 weeks ago when I had my layover from my trip, which was delayed. But yeah, I actually saw that building that Simul was talking about. It's like, yeah, it's kind of similar.
Well, it's similar in that we were saying this building has an Art Deco kind of look to it. And that was just another example of an Art Deco building kind of set up on a precipice the same way that this is here.
And didn't you say that was Amazon's former headquarters in Seattle?
For a time, it was Amazon headquarters. Now they've moved to the South Lake Union neighborhood, which is on the opposite end of downtown. But yeah, for a while it was. It just looks like a Fortress of Doom.
It looks like an evil villain's lair. If you actually... Adam, have you been to Seattle?
A couple times. Not really. Okay. I haven't really explored the city or anything. Just went to see a couple shows. I saw the new Neil Breen.
Where in Canada are you?
Vancouver.
Oh, so you're close.
You guys are both Cascadia. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Pacific Northwest for life.
Boy.
All right, well, the scene does continue. When Judy howls, this actually manages to get the guard who was on Nick's scent to howl, distracting him and kind of saving Nick there. But then some other guards start howling, and another one goes up and says, "Gary, quit it. You're going to start a howl." "I didn't start it," he responds. Judy then howls a second time. Gary howls again. Larry tries to sort of like cover his mouth up, but then also starts howling, and they're all staring up at the sky. And all these guards across the bridge start howling that are closer to the building. And Judy takes this opportunity, says, "Come on." And they kind of dash across this bridge, which looks very wet and moist. It's kind of misty out, and they are on a giant waterfall. And they make it to the other wall of the building as the guards are howling here, and sort of run up to the side where they're out of sight. So they've made it across the bridge now because of Judy's quick thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Very bad guards. I would not hire them if they easily break out into a howl
that's
and
a
get distracted.
big weakness.
Yeah.
That's like a critical weakness in your guards, that like there's a key word that makes them stop working.
Yeah. What would be the ideal animal for guards?
Ooh, good
Cats?
question.
I don't know. You
What
get a bunch of
traditionally would be? Yeah,
tigers.
like a lion.
Because-
or,
Because we can't have because I guess there's no domesticated animals in the Zootopia world. So what,
Oh yeah. Well, then a
what
wildcat.
Yeah, look, a wildcat maybe. Lions, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. A lion would make sense. What traditionally would be guarding something? Like a bull? No, I'm thinking of like the Minotaur in the labyrinth. That's different.
You get a bunch of Chief Bogos.
Yes,
There
just
we
a bunch
go.
of Chief Bogo clones walking around complaining about everything all the time. Yeah, so it's not a super long minute. The last thing we kind of see, they made it over to the opposite side of it, and Nick says, "You are a clever bunny," to Judy for coming up with that idea, kind of saving Nick, letting them get across. They look up, and there's sort of a pipe with water flowing out of it, and then the scene transitions to a room, which apparently is inside of this building, and there's sort of a manhole cover type drain grate thing in the floor, and our minute ends just as Nick's fingers kind of reach up through there to lift it up. So it looks like they've successfully made it into the building, but we'll have to wait until next time to see what happens next.
Oh no, I wonder what will happen next time.
Here's a question. Are you going to review the minutes that include the end credits of the film?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, we
really?
are.
Well,
Yeah.
So our format is based off the Star Wars Minute format. I think they were the first group to
Okay,
do that.
I'm
They're
not
a
aware of
group
that.
They're like a group of comic book artists who I guess it's like a bunch of comic book artists. Instead of doing a podcast about comic books, they just decided to do one about Star Wars. And I think they reviewed the credits as well. So I think we have to review the credits. For
Okay.
ours.
So what happens when you get to the last 11 seconds of the film?
Do you want to be our guest for that one?
Maybe.
That's
Talk about the
that's
last
kind of the
11
idea. Is
seconds.
when we're on the credits, we're probably just going to have some guests on and just kind of talk about the movie as a whole and its cultural
Okay.
impact. And all
Oh,
that.
here's the producer, and here's animator number 62.
Oh, here's the best boy.
Oh, actually,
I want to grip that best boy.
well, actually, because of going to furry cons, I've met some people who actually worked on the Zootopia movie. That
I knew
we're
it.
having lined up as guests for future episodes. So it might be fun to have. We wanted to have them on the minutes that they were slated for, but as you know, it's been kind of hard to slate everyone for the minute we were wanting everyone for. But we probably will have them when their name comes up in the credits. So like, hey, look, it's my name.
Yeah. It's just so funny because people look at that and say like, this film was made by furries. And it's like, well, I mean, think about it. We're at a time now where furrydom is like a pretty like visible cultural thing at this point. And, you know, they're adults, they have jobs. Some of them are going to be animators. And if an animator happens to be a furry, they're going to want to work on projects like this.
Yeah, I mean,
So it's not too surprising.
the animation industry has a lot of furries in it, and so does the tech industry. So
Well, Adam, you were bringing it up in your Zootopia quickie review about it seemed like from your perspective they were specifically trying to appeal to that furry demographic. And when I watched Zootopia, I was still kind of new into the fandom. But what points were you seeing that made you think, oh yeah, they're trying to get to the furries?
well, it's almost as if it's as though the set pieces for each scene were made to try to appeal to every single like niche demographic within the furry community. Almost, you got like a macro scene when they're chasing what were they, gerbils or whatever, you know, when they get to the town and then they're all of a sudden like
Yeah.
huge. You know?
Yeah, and
Like-
Judy was surprisingly much bigger than she probably should have been.
Yeah, you got the sexy tigers, you know?
Yeah, Choco was telling me that he's found more fan art of that specific scene where they're in the tiny mouse village than for any other scene in the movie.
Yeah,
And
if
it's
you look
probably
on
specifically because of the whole macro thing.
Yeah, if you look on Fur Affinity, it's like if you type in Zootopia on Fur Affinity, it's either the sexy tigers or the macro scene.
That's funny. Not my thing. I'm more into the sexy tigers myself, but
And what's your persona for people who don't know?
I'm a horse.
Horse. Yeah, your profile picture on Discord is amazing, by the way.
Why, thank
Quite
you.
frightening.
I'm glad.
All right, so that's your fursona, but would your zoo-sona be anything different?
No.
Because zoo-sonas aren't fursonas. They're
What do you
totally
mean?
different.
Well,
Yeah.
how are you supposed to, what are the requirements then?
The only requirements are it can't be like a domesticated animal.
Well, it doesn't matter because there was a horse in like the background of one of the scenes. You could see that there was a horse in Zootopia.
Yeah.
That scene already happened.
I'm not saying you
didn't it?
can't be a horse. I'm just saying, are you still a horse?
Why
'Cause
wouldn't I
it's
be?
a separate thing.
Why
All
would I
right.
change
You'll
my
be a horse
animal?
then.
Why did you choose horse to begin with then? Just curious.
Because the colloquial characteristics that human beings give certain animals, whether objectively true or just cultural, the ones that we've given to horses most closely relate to how I identify as a person, I guess. I've always kind of
really?
felt that way. So, you look at any given animal that someone could, I guess, identify as. You have, people. You don't see a lot of like food animals in the furry community. You have some, but you don't see a lot of those. You have to assume.
Oh, you like animals that are eaten, domesticated for food?
Yeah. I mean, like, there's stereotypes for sure when we consider like what animal someone identifies as in the furry community, but they kind of make sense, not to generalize, but there's certain characteristics that we give animals, whether socially constructed or not, that are kind of just universally accepted. And so if somebody considers themselves like really, I don't know, like mischievous, then they might they might pick a mischievous animal. Or if somebody, considers themselves kind of like small and cute, then they might pick an animal like that. Just stuff like that. Like I didn't really feel like anything but a horse in that sense. They're companion animals. They're kind of derpy. They're tall. Like, I don't know.
Which is actually kind of funny because I drew a badge for Adam for Midway First Fest this year, and I drew him as his horse. And I had a bunch of badges lying around. I just noticed that your horse Sona I drew you is just looking at me right now. It's just like
Awesome. Thank you for that.
I still need to send that to you. So next time I'm in
problem.
town. Yeah. How long have you been in the furry fandom? Just curious, since Simo's not in the furry fandom and I'm just tangentially getting into it. How long have you been in there, and what's your impression of the entire thing?
Since I was 15, I guess. But I mean, it's been, I don't know, it's the fandom really is different depending on where you are, what city you're in, who you know. Like there's a different experience to be found just based on a lot of different factors. So I don't know, like I feel like the friends I have in Vancouver, in the Vancouver community, even though I don't know every furry in Vancouver, but I have, my furry friends, I feel like that's, I feel closest to these people, I guess.
So would it be accurate if I assumed that you've been to Rainforest?
Yeah, I was there the 3 years leading it up to its inevitable demise, including the year it was banned.
Right.
I was there in 2015.
Yeah, I've never been to any furry conventions, but I've wanted to. And Rainforest was one that I was looking at because it's, it's in my town. But then it closed down. And I've heard like the stories about what happened. And, Everfree, the MLP con that I work for, also deals with the same hotels. And we kind of heard things through that hotel relationship as well. But,
yeah, honestly, what killed Rainforest was a bunch of really awful people that were not banned when they should have been, that were just looking to kind of sabotage the whole thing, honestly. And not even everything that was like, that's considered to be something that happened is actually true anyway. There are certain people that literally go to cons just to try and stir up drama and get attention, whether it be actual like vandalism or, people that will try to make it seem like something's happening even if it isn't, because that stuff spreads on furry Twitter. So you'll get people that will set up a scenario. They'll be like, oh, look, somebody threw a diaper on the car windshield in the parking lot, but it was them that did it, and they just did it to take the picture. Like, I'm not even kidding. There's people that do that, and there's people that have admitted to that. So you gotta, I don't know, the con needed to be a bit more strict with its rules, I guess. There were some not so great individuals that went to that con and kind of just ruined it for everybody. Because like me and I don't know, seemingly everybody that I'm friends with that went there, we didn't see or experience any of the things that blew up on furry Twitter or the things that supposedly the con got banned for.
Yeah.
We were just, either in a hotel room partying and drinking, or, like I can't say I went to many of the panels or anything. Went around the con and had fun just hanging out with friends. So my experience was completely different than what the, I guess, public perception of what that convention was,
Which I think is the Simul and I, because we both do a lot of cons as well. I think that's the impression that we get a lot, is the cons are called out for something publicly, and it's like, we were there and we didn't see any of this stuff happening. But what you're saying about trolls purposely trying to cause this drama at cons was something I actually experienced last weekend at HarmonyCon in Dallas, which was the PonyCon that was swatted. And
oh no,
there was, I think it was 8chan, because they noticed that the main hall was being live streamed, so there's a concert going on during the live stream. And I guess they called a bomb threat or something. We don't know the exact story right now. But it caused the police to come in all armed, kick us all out. We were forced to wait in the parking lot in the cold for over an hour before another hotel finally let us into their lobby. And we were basically locked out of the convention hotel, all the guests there too, for 3 hours as the police were going through room to room with assault rifles. And actually, ironically enough, it was one of my friends who used to help run Rainforest who actually was generous enough to buy coffee for everyone who was waiting out in the cold. But it was a crazy experience. And I think one of the funniest pictures I got from it was, if you looked at the live stream, there was a point where 2 officers came into the concert room with assault rifles, and there was a bunch of pony plushies. And if you pause it just right, it looks like they're aiming at these ponies, which is
nice. You should get that image then. You should screen cap that.
Someone did.
Meme.
I've seen that. There's been like postcards made, like "Welcome to HarmonyCon."
That's funny.
It's terrible when that kind of thing happens. And I know that has happened at furry cons too, at least 1 or 2 times, where there's been a fake bomb threat or something.
Yeah, what was it the chlorine thing at Midwest Fur Fest a few years back?
There's been like fake threats, there's been real threats, like it's I don't know. The furry community kind of tracks these sort of things.
Yeah, and when you think about it, like, if it's a threat, does it even make sense to describe a threat as being true or false? Like, it's just the threat. It's not that it is there, there's a threat. That's all it is.
Yeah, I guess I don't know.
And so police have to take that seriously, though, is the bottom line. And
I would rather them take it seriously than not take it seriously, right? So
exactly. Yeah. It's just a shame that that kind of thing has to happen. It's just a shame that people have that kind of attitude, that they feel like there's people enjoying themselves and they have to come in and shut it down. Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
get a hobby.
That happens in a lot of different scenarios coming from a lot of different people. I don't think it's exclusive to furry cons. I think it's just, people either being bored or wanting to prove to themselves that they have a sense of control on the world around them and that they're not insignificant, or just people that really don't like a certain group of people, whether it be furries or some sort of political affiliation or otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess just curious, this is tangentially related, but Adam, I'm not sure if you're a brony or not, but I noticed in some of your previous reviews you use a lot of pony gifs. Any relationship to that side of the fandom, or just...
Well, it was like, I don't know, I was using those when they were like popular meme things, and I was also on 4chan a lot back then too, and bronies were everywhere on 4chan, and it was really funny. And it was just one of those things where it's just like, I don't know, I just thought that some of the facial expressions on some of the memes were appropriate for what I was going for and trying to communicate in my reviews, and then I would use it, and then people would be like, "Ooh, disgusting," and it's like, wow, really? I don't know, it's just like, just calm down. It's like baby's first day on the internet,
I think that's I guess when I found your channel a while back, it wasn't obvious that you were furry, but you left like little hints there, and when people find out, oh, you're a furry, they just go insane. But it's interesting because I don't think you don't consider yourself like a furry reviewer, right? You're just a regular reviewer, and you just happen to be a furry.
Well, yeah, I don't have a furry YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel, and I happen to be a furry. So, I mean, like, on my gaming channel, it's much more present because I'm literally just, having fun having, random conversations playing video games and poking fun at things around me and poking fun at myself. So obviously that's going to come up. And I don't really feel like hiding it. It's just a matter of whether or not I feel it necessary to promote it in certain instances. Film reviews, it has nothing to do with. So there's no real point in, dressing up in a fursuit and being like, I'm the horse that reviews movies. The only real point of doing that would be if I was trying to exclusively cater towards the furry community with my reviews, which I'm not. So, I mean, I don't really feel like limiting my audience in that way, because to a lot of people, they get really abrasive when it comes to that kind of thing. They're really just not open to the idea of somebody doing that or being that or, promoting that side of themselves, I guess.
We actually got a lot of emails and comments about that. Like we,
even though we're not furries.
We keep on saying we're not
made
furries.
that clear.
Even though this is a Zootopia podcast, we have Zoosonas, we are Zooies, we're not furries. But we have a lot of commenters and emails saying, you guys are definitely furries. Stop pretending that you're not furries, you furry
It's not
scum.
even a lot. It's like one or two people that just can't let it go.
And I guess they got so upset they manually started downvoting our videos because every single video now consistently gets like 11 downvotes now for some reason.
Yeah, we're getting hit by fake dislikes. It's kind of been a problem recently. So by the way, guys, if you're listening to this podcast, go ahead and give our video a like. We appreciate that.
Boy.
Wow, I think that's the first time you ever said that.
Smash that
I've
like
said that
button.
before in the outros. All right, so I think we're probably going to want to wrap up here in just a bit. One thing I want to ask before we let you go, and we'll also give you a chance to plug some of your stuff, but what do you think has been the impact, if any, of Zootopia on the furry community at large? Has it had a lasting impact? Did it kind of just like stick around for a while and then everyone forgot about it? What's your impression?
It's obviously had a lasting impact. I keep seeing images of the characters from the film everywhere, whether explicit or otherwise. I mean, the furry community obviously loves this movie. It's a movie that was essentially, it wasn't made for furries in the sense that it was made for exclusively furries, but it was definitely a movie that the closest movie you'll get that's still something that people can universally enjoy, that does feel like it caters towards the furry community in some sense.
It's like the new Disney Robin Hood kind of.
Yeah, I guess so. Although Robin Hood wasn't made with any consideration of furries, that's for sure.
Probably created the modern furries as we know it.
That's what I'm saying, kind of. It was
I guess so.
I'm sure it was many people's first introduction to sort of the concept.
Yeah, I mean, it's had a lasting impact on the community for sure. I think it's a decent movie. I'm not like wowed by it. I'm kind of an art snob, I guess. But yeah, I'll see the sequel when it's out. Whenever that is.
Oh yeah, there's a sequel now.
That's right.
I'm not looking forward to a sequel. It seems
Why?
like all the movies that had sequels. I don't know. I thought Zootopia was a good, okay standalone movie. It didn't need a sequel. It seems like movies that had sequels get increasingly worse. Like I just saw the Wreck-It Ralph 2 and Lego Movie 2, and I thought they were like, ugh.
Yeah, who knows?
To the previous ones.
I mean, yeah, it really depends on who's behind the project and what they want to do with it, I guess. I feel like the universe of Zootopia lends itself for a sequel in a way. Like, there's a lot that they could still do with it. I don't really see a sequel to Zootopia being a bad thing. I don't see it being dramatically worse than the first film. I think they'll, come up with some new gags and ideas that will probably work well. Whereas, I don't know, something like Wreck-It Ralph, they just kind of meshed it with the Emoji Movie, so...
Well, I noticed the sequels that we have seen lately. Almost every single sequel I've seen with an animated film has been, the two main protagonists you like in the previous movie. Yeah, we're going to make them split apart because of some fake fight, or they think one betrayed the other. And that was completely present in Wreck-It Ralph 2 and Lego Movie 2, where you just say, they're forcing them apart and having a dumb fight. And I'm worried that's what the Zootopia sequel will be. It's just like, let's artificially force...
there's formulated forced conflict in most films, especially if you're making a family-friendly film. So, that's something that happens. It bothers me, but I'm not expecting anything different, so
Well, what's your favorite? Because I know from your reviews, you're a little bit more critical about you judge children movies on the same standard as other movies, which I think is fair. And I love your Pixar reviews because they align exactly where my reviews on the Pixar movies kind of stem. But what would you say is your favorite like child's movie? Like that's up there. That's good.
The Lion King.
Lion King?
Yeah, 100%.
It's a furry movie that ties around.
There are very few, I guess, family-oriented films that put so much effort into the voice acting, the musical score. Like the score from Hans Zimmer is amazing in that film, one of the best scores ever. The actual musical songs with Elton John and Tim Rice behind them are all, iconic, very memorable, classic.
Definitely.
The sequence of events in the film actually holds emotional weight. Like there's this terrible idea that we shouldn't show anything that has real emotion behind it in a kid's movie. Like a lot of it's forced and fake because people are like, kids can't handle that sort of thing. But there's actual legitimate, sad, depressing moments in The Lion King, like there's actual loss, there's actual like death and consequence. And I think it makes it just so much better of a film overall. And I don't think any kids were scarred from it. There were probably kids that cried from it for sure. But emotion isn't necessarily that bad of a thing to experience.
No, certainly not. Yeah, that's a very good point.
It wraps around back to, I guess, Zootopia because they're both animated anthropomorphic animal movies.
Hey, full circle. We made it.
Yeah, circle of life. There we go.
All right, awesome. So I think we're about ready to wrap up. Before we do go, we just want to give you as our guest a chance to kind of plug the stuff that you've been working on.
My film review channel. You can search it into YouTube, YMS. It'll show up. It's called YourMovieSucks.org. My gaming channel, Adum Plaze, ADUMPLAZE, or Z if you're Canadian. My podcast where we talk about movies with Ralph the Movie Maker and I Hate Everything. It's called Sardonicast. And I also do music too. There's a 4-song demo that I released back in 2010. It's not perfect. It doesn't have great production quality or production value, but it's the only material of mine that's publicly released right now because I'm working on a full-length feature album that I'm recording in a studio that should be out either this year or early next year. It's been taking a long time, but it's a big project and people should get hyped for it. Blondie actually covered one of the songs on my demo, which is super cool, and I feel adds some legitimacy to the projects I'm doing. That those are all the things I do and that I'm working on. I have a Twitch, same name as my gaming channel, Adum Plaze. I edit there, I stream games there. Yep, I'm a busy boy.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to come and talk with us. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, so I think that'll do it for this episode of Zootopia Minute. If you did enjoy the podcast, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. Give this video a like as well. Share it with your friends. You can also like us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter at Zootopia Minute. And if you have anything you'd like to share with us at all in any kind of format whatsoever, just your thoughts on the show, thoughts on guests, anything you would like, just send that to zootopiaminute@gmail.com and we'll be happy to respond to you there. All right, guys, thanks again so much for listening. We will see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.